Could all rise for the pledge. Diane, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I'm sorry. Yes, please, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, and those people fighting the good fight in the Ukraine. Thank you, everybody.
I hear somebody on the phone. Do you know who's on the phone?
Can we have who's on the phone tonight?
Chris Cosgrove's here.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else on the phone this evening? Okay. All right. Walter?
Signed up for public comment, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I'd like to reconvene the town council meeting for this evening.
I'd like to reconvene the Board of Finance for this evening.
Okay. So we'd like to start with who we got first on deck? Jasmine in the Senior Center.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. One second. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Honorable Mayor, Town Council, and the New Milford community. My name is Jasmine DeCusinhara, Director of the New Milford Senior Center, and I thank you for the opportunity to present the 2022-2023 budget on behalf of the New Milford Senior Center and the Commission on Aging. As you may be aware, the senior population is one of the fastest growing in New Milford, and we are honored that we have been able to serve more than half of this population through the services and resources that the New Milford Senior Center offers. As you notice on this slide, we are requesting $1,500 in capital for furniture replacements due to high volume use, and ones that are more cleaning friendly, and expenditures of $546,982.94, the bulk of which covers personnel. Note that the $20,000 that was originally requested for the grant match for a new wheelchair accessible minibus has been taken care of by the mayor's recommendation by using surplus funds available. So our staff currently consists of myself, Jeanette, our program coordinator, assistant director, Kim, our office coordinator, Tom and Aaron, our two senior bus operators, Sue, our per diem substitute bus operator, Rufus, our part-time chore services coordinator, and of course Amanda, our municipal agent senior service advisor. And that is a Connecticut state statute mandated position to ensure that every town have advocates for the elderly to provide information and referrals in federal, state, and local benefits entitlement. And the town of New Milford is very fortunate to have two. Though we are currently still searching to fill the position for the second municipal agent senior service advisor. Budgeted also in that personnel line is our part-time seasonal office coordinator to assist our municipal agent senior service advisors for the months of September to January, as it is the busiest season with energy assistance, open enrollment, and holiday programs. I would also like to note that though we have a small staff, we are able to provide the caliber of quality service through the help of our many volunteers, ranging from our Commission on Aging, our chore services volunteers to provide services needed to help ensure the safety and security of our seniors to age in place in their homes, and our many program-based volunteers, from assisting with our congregate meal deliveries, our Meals on Wheels drivers, Wheels volunteers to provide rides to non-emergency medical appointments, and to all our volunteer program and activity facilitators that provide enrichment and inspiration. Continuing with our expenditures is the breakdown of the following accounts. Our contractual account, which encompasses the web services of our senior database, which is called My Senior Center, and inclusion in the regional resource website AgeWell CT, as well as allocations towards our health and wellness screenings and programs, and the local funding contribution from town entities for our Meals on Wheels programs. And those are for the meals delivered to our homebound residents. Currently, we have over 35 Meals on Wheels recipients in the town of New Milford. So we're talking over 10,000 meals for this portion of our senior population. Also, we have here is our materials and supplies for our educational, social, and rec programs, as well as general office supplies. Our materials and supplies self-sustaining, which is our fee-based programs and activities, such as our special interest or exercise classes, and also for miscellaneous repairs and maintenance of our senior buses under the 13B grant, transportation grant. And last but not least, our congregate lunches, which under the Title III of the Older Americans Act serves to provide congregate meal services that are covered in expenses one-to-one. So it's been quite a ride, and we are proud to say that though for a long time our doors were locked, the New Milford Senior Center never skipped a beat. Throughout the pandemic, we sought to keep our senior community engaged, taken care of, and uplifted by being a senior center beyond four walls. We pivoted our congregate meals to a congregate meal delivery, in which over 24,000 meals were delivered to our seniors' doorsteps. We provided uplift through drive-through special events such as You Donut Know How Much We Miss You, drive-through where we passed out individually packaged donuts, and worked through being as communicative and accessible as possible, especially when we navigated through the vaccination process to help get our senior community protected. And now, as we are almost up to full speed and our doors totally open, we're happy to say that we are once again able to offer a wide array of programs, activities, and services that provide opportunities socially and recreationally, educationally, and to enhance health and wellness. We are even more excited to note that we have continued to pursue this initiative of being a senior center beyond four walls by examples of expanding programming off-site, such as our Movers and Shakers Club, which ventures through local hiking spots, offering programs and activities outside of our 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. business hours, such as our Zumba Gold exercise class and our upcoming Aging Mastery program, and by simply being reachable and being able to provide service and connection through different communication platforms such as phone, email, texting, online resources, and social media. Oops. Ooh, okay. Now looking to our revenue, we're very fortunate to have grants to help offset some of the expenditures of our senior center. Primarily, our COA revenue allows for $45,000 of payroll offset for our bus operators, as well as additional for repairs and maintenance of our buses. All of this is from Connecticut's DOT's 13B transportation grant. In addition, we also have a Western Connecticut Area Agency on Aging grant, and that helps to offset the payroll of our chore services coordinator. And the remaining from our revenue are from anticipated contributions from our fee-based programming and activities, as well as for our senior bus services, and of course the congregate lunch revenue with the elderly nutrition program, which once again is covered one-to-one from our congregate lunches expenditure line. So in sum, we are proud to be able to offer our senior community excellence and service between all the resources we provide at the New Milford Senior Center. We appreciate the community support as we navigated through the reopening of our doors and truly look forward for what's to come. So from all of us at the New Milford Senior Center, we thank you for your time and for the opportunity to present our 2022 to 2023 budget for the New Milford Senior Center. Are there any questions?
One of the things you just mentioned for the edification of council and board of finance was you're really taking the walls out approach
Yes.
to our seniors, especially when we had to really go to them during COVID. But one of the things that you've now partnered with too, I think it was your first or second one now, is having some of our diverse community come in and talk to our seniors, as we are a diverse community, and kind of talk about the heritage and different cultures. If you could kind of talk about the one that you just had with the council and the Board of Finance.
Yep, absolutely. We've been very fortunate to receive a grant from the Connecticut Community Foundation to put on a cultural series entitled Cultural Connections, Celebrating Diversity Across the World. So we're excited to say that we have a series of 4 presentations that we will be visiting different countries throughout the year. This was just this past Thursday, we visited the continent of Africa. We had a local area speaker come in to perform African dances. She's originally from Uganda and made her way to the U.S. via Fairbanks, Alaska, and landed herself in Bethel, Connecticut. So it was a fantastic program, and to close the program, we also offer a food sampling. So a little taste of African fruits and snacks. And so we are excited that as the course of the year goes, we are going to be heading to South Korea and then to China, and then closing off the year with Spain. So lots of things that we're expanding beyond 4 walls, not only just in our little box of the senior center, but truly beyond.
And Jasmine, when we were in full lockdown, where basically we had to go out to our seniors, we were actually taking part of our parks and segmenting hours so the seniors could go as a cohort and
Yes.
feel safe. for the council and board of finance, now that we've opened it up, what have you seen as far as now the seniors coming back? How do they feel about it? If you could kind of just let the council, the public know as well. the Board of
Absolutely.
Finance.
So since we officially opened our doors on April 19th of 2021, but we didn't really get into full swing up until this past really July. And it's really just starting to be now that we're seeing, closer to what our regular numbers were. I will say that, it was a nice mix of people who were still a little bit nervous, but, ready to get out there. And at the same token, we had ones that would have run through the doors if we had let them when this pandemic was starting. So, it's been, we've been very supportive though of all of the different members and their different thoughts, trying to make everybody comfortable. Currently, right now, we have our dining room open. We're allowing 4 to a table, but yet, if someone doesn't feel comfortable doing that, we have options for them, whether as we sit them in a table that's a little bit farther away from everyone, whether we pack up their meal and send them off home with it. And for now, we still have the deliveries going on up until the end of March, but we tried to be able to accommodate. As in addition to that, also our services that we have offered. We have our municipal agent senior service advisors, which historically, it's always been an in-person appointment sitting in front of the office desk, but we've been able to pivot by communicating through email. We even do, driver door service, really, where our senior service advisor would go out with a clipboard and get a signature from the parking lot. Really just trying to be able to accommodate for all of the different preferences and also to be able to keep our seniors safe. So it's
Thank
been
you,
a true
Jasmine.
effort.
Katie, do you have a question?
Yes.
I do. Thanks, Jasmine.
Thanks, Katie.
Great job that you do. I'm just curious, how many chore service calls do you have usually?
Oh, my goodness. So chore service calls, Rufus, our chore service
No, I mean
coordinator.
that you go out on, not just the phone calls, but
Yeah.
requests. Yeah.
So, mind you, he's 19 and a half hours a week, and we cram, days worth of work into those days. I will say on average per week,
But
he
wait,
can
is
be.
he going, you mean you're talking about Rufus going out to do the work?
Yep, because what he has to
Okay.
do is he
Yeah,
has.
but what about you have volunteers
Yes,
who
we
do
have
it.
volunteers as
Yeah,
well. So I would
that's
say.
what, yeah.
Per week, we could do anywhere from, it depends on all the jobs, of course, but we can do as little as 5. We could be doing 15.
Right, but what I'm
different
curious to
things.
know is, how many calls for help do you get?
Calls
in
for
a
help
week,
we get
say?
in a week. I will say the same thing. We'll get maybe, especially depending on the seasons, maybe in the fall time when people are looking to get their leaves raked, we'll get, maybe 15 calls a week for, hi, I'm looking for leaf raking services.
Right.
And then we'd get calls throughout the week that would be, my grab bar just broke.
Right.
So
But
things
how
that
about
we-
this time of year? Do you
About
get
this
calls?
time of year, so we have a mixture of who can I get to plow my driveway, and bless you. And also we take calls such as, I have to move, and we need to move everything out of my house into a storage unit. So
Well, I know you've come to Rotary to ask for
Yes.
volunteers to do some, we do have some that go and help. I just was curious. So otherwise Rufus is doing those himself?
Rufus does, so he coordinates the different projects. So he has to still go out to each of the calls because he has to evaluate the situation. So
Okay.
from there, he's
Okay.
able to evaluate whether or not, something that he could quickly do as a handyman type service, or do we
So
need
he
to
does
gather?
do some.
He does do some as well. So,
Okay, that's
to
good.
gather a group that needs to, weed a garden or something like that. So maybe we'll get a youth group together on a
Okay.
weekend.
Now, Leo and Myra
Amanda.
are gone.
Yes,
So I see their names are still here.
that was from the previous
Right.
budget.
Well, I know, but I'm looking
Yeah.
at it over here, so it just reminded me. You haven't replaced them yet, have you?
No, we have replacement for Amanda. We do have, replacement for Myra. We do have Amanda Caldwell.
She's here?
Yep, she is currently here.
Okay.
So she is running the ship upstairs at the moment for our municipal agents, and we are currently still in the searching process. We actually have a couple more interviews, so
Good.
hopefully this decision will be made very soon to
And
to have the
Myra,
second.
for the edification of the Council Board of Finance, she took a position as a director in
Yes.
Waterbury.
Right.
Yes.
And Leo just took a position with the Northwest COG when it comes to senior issues.
Absolutely. So big moves. We miss them dearly, but very happy for them.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other
Any other
questions for Jasmine?
Joe?
Joe?
Just a comment. So Jasmine, I just want to say that, the diversity of services that you all provide to the seniors of our community is just incredible. And you've done a fantastic job taking over for Carolyn, who was there for so many years and built such a great team there. But I appreciate you being here, even though some of your team have left. But just doing a great job and keep up the great work. And I think the value you provide for the budget you're asking for is well worth it for our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Joe?
Yeah, thank you. Good job. I just wanted to point something. I don't know if can the people on YouTube see the screen?
Can the people on
Yep.
YouTube see the
Yeah.
screen?
Okay.
Yes.
The 546,928 isn't right, and I don't know who did the math, but the one in our budget book, and that will be reflected in the municipal budget,
Right.
is 547,928 or 982,94.
That's correct,
547,928.
but that's not. yeah.
That's not correct. I just
apologize.
I just checked it. No, it's okay. I just I don't know if people are looking at it. They may
Fired.
they may see it.
Unacceptable.
It's not a big deal. I mean, but at the end of the day,
No, absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jasmine?
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
All right.
Jasmine.
Thank you
you
all.
for
Have a wonderful
everything you
evening.
Yep. Please thank everybody up there.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next
catch.
is going to be the
I
New
don't wanna- it's not
Milford.
a
No, they're
gotcha,
done.
it's just-
We did them the first,
Yep, that's right.
right?
Next
First
is
night.
land use.
Yeah. Let's
So we
see.
have Laura and Jim.
These pieces that are part of presentations are wonderful. Are they available to us?
Absolutely. What we do at the very end, we send them all to you, and we also put them on our webpage.
Perfect.
So the public can see them as
Perfect.
well.
It's a great way to see the big picture. Okay.
Yep, in the minutes too.
You're up.
Right, I'm going to start. Laura Regan, Zoning Enforcement Officer, Town Planner. I believe this is the third, maybe fourth. I keep telling everybody I've lost a year with COVID. So of us presenting a combined land use budget. And this combined land use budget represents the budgets of 5 different land use boards and commissions: Aquifer Protection, Inland Wetlands, Planning, Zoning, and Zoning Board of Appeals. So we did this consolidation a few years ago because we have basically a staff of 4 shared staff for these 5 land use boards and commissions. So we found that the same staff person was doing duplicate accounting tasks. They were pulling separate POs from separate accounts from the same merchant. And customers were also having to pay with separate checks to separate departments. So this consolidation that we did a few years ago has really improved efficiency from an accounting perspective in our office, and probably also the efficiency of the finance and payroll too. So tonight you're going to see that we're here to present a total budget of $364,849. That is an increase of $7,455. But you'll see our revenue is up by $20,000. So that's almost a 20% increase in revenue. Jim's going to touch on that. So we're going to start with the. There we go. So I'm just going to start first with our expenditures. Our total land use budget consists of these 6 accounts. Personnel, that's obviously our big ticket line item at just over $310,000. And as I said, we have 4 shared staff, full-time staff. That's myself, the ZEO town planner, Jim, the wetlands enforcement officer, an assistant land use enforcement officer, the land use administrator, and then we have 5 recording secretaries that attend all the commission meetings and the minutes, and that averages typically 5 to 6 meetings a month, and they also prepare any verbatim transcripts for litigation. We then move into overtime. That's pretty self-explanatory. Consultants, this is funds that are used to hire any special planning projects. That is where you'll see a little increase, and we just did increase this because you'll see the activity that's going on in town. So we did want to increase that a little bit. Then we move into our contractual self-sustaining. Again, it's self-sustaining, so any money that is spent gets reimbursed to us by applicants. So we send out any more complicated, challenging projects to outside consultants. Legal notices, you hear us say this every year. Per state statute, we still have to publish legal notices for all public hearings and decisions of the land use boards and commissions. And then finally, materials and supplies, which is pretty much just our general office and copier supplies and trainings. So then I'm going to turn it over to Jim to go over the fund revenue.
All right, regarding our James Farrell, Wetlands Enforcement Officer now. Later I'll have a different hat. We have zoning, ZBA fees, planning fees, and wetlands fees. And they break down into these categories. The zoning permit application fees, we're looking at increasing that by $15,000 to $70,000 of an income coming in for those particular fees. ZBA application fees, approximately $3,000 in the next fiscal year. Zoning engineering and reviewing fees, this is that self-sustaining account. We're anticipating $20,000 in that. Planning and subdivision application fees, since there are not very many subdivisions at this juncture, we are looking at about approximately $1,000. Wetlands permit and application fees, we're increasing that by $5,000 to $18,000. And then the wetlands significant activity fee, which is the other part of the self-sustaining account associated with wetlands, at $10,000, giving us a total of $122,000, which is $20,000 more than what we had for revenue in the previous year.
And Jim, just for the edification of the council, Board of Finance, the public at large, the increase isn't because we increase the actual fee, it's because of the extra activity that's going on within the community.
That is correct. We have not increased any of our fees or anything else like that associated with this. Is the fact that a lot of people are reinvesting into this community, and we are very busy at this. You'll hear this from all the different land use commissions. We are very busy at this juncture, and thankfully we have consolidated into a land use group, because what we're saving in time and effort, we're being able to support the general public that's out there that needs our services. Going through this, our current budget is $7,455 additional increase. Revenues have also increased. We're looking at a $20,000 increase in revenues, which is approximately 19.6% over what the current budget year is. This result is an anticipated tax dollar use reduction of $12,545, which is a decrease from tax dollars of 3.4%. And again, this consolidation and being able to utilize open government, email, the map copier, which now scans as well, this has helped us tremendously to be able to serve the public quicker, faster, more efficient, and to be honest with you, with less cost to them, because now we can scan things that they don't have to come in by state statute and pay for. Although it's a little bit more time in the office, I think it's a better service to the general public. And finally, as we always give you, this is our zoning, inland wetlands, ZBA, and planning application chart. The one commission that's not on here is aquifer protection. We normally don't have a lot of activity on that. However, this year, we've already gotten 5 different applications on our aquifer protection requirements because we're trying to play catch up with the state statute. And we're going to try and get our 17 to 20 businesses that need to register registered. So, and it's also good that we're actually having people coming in for new uses as well. So that shows, again, an increase in people looking to do not only residential, but also commercial and industrial improvements. I'm not going to go through the entire chart that's there. It's there for your reference. You're welcome to review it at your pleasure. Any questions?
Any question for Jim or Laura? Walter?
Yeah, just, I want to clarify, when you say zoning permits, that's new construction and renovations, or
Yep,
they
so that's
separate?
everything, so that's additions, that's sheds,
Yeah,
that's pools,
okay, that's what I just want
decks.
to
Yep,
make sure,
everything.
okay.
Any other questions for Laura or Jim?
Just a comment.
Okay.
We'll point out this is our.
Just a comment that, Laura, I know, and a lot of people may not know, I think it's unusual, I don't know if it's unique, but unusual that someone's pulling double duty for zoning enforcement and town planner, and I appreciate you taking on that, and you're doing a great job, so thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Katie?
You're doing a great job, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah, and I
you.
just actually want to point out that's our first 6 months. We're just getting into our busy season, so
And-
this doesn't even reflect that. I was actually telling
Right.
Jim I have 4 regulation amendments right now that aren't even reflected on there, and you'll see, that's
Ah.
a high number for.
That's
for
why
that
you have
type of
such a smile on your
Yeah.
face tonight, huh?
So,
There's a lot going on
A lot.
for land use.
Yeah.
And you'll hear that from all the different land use agencies. so.
Yep.
That's good news.
Yes, it is.
Handling it
People
well.
investing in the community, that's always good
Amen.
news.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other
I
questions?
just have one question.
Yep.
The variance on our book is 13,000, but they're saying 7. What's the, am I looking at the wrong thing?
Total expenditure.
Hillary, are you on the revenues?
Yeah, variance from prior year
That's on 108.
Page 108.
expenditures.
108.
On the expenditures or
Yeah.
the?
The revenue is
revenues?
60.
108.
Oh, we're on revenue, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16.
I'm ahead of it, go ahead.
Page 16.
Yeah.
That's what she's looking at.
Okay, yep.
Told I was too tired.
10, expenditures, Hillary?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're talking about revenues, it's okay.
Okay.
It's just a variant.
Gotcha.
I got it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Laura. Please thank everybody down there
Right.
for all their hard work.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Next is Fire Marshal Kevin. Come on up. And we got Jim for Emergency Management. And Kevin, too.
Which you want, emergency management or, and of course, they didn't put it on here.
I might be under fire marshal.
We know you're there.
It shouldn't be.
No,
Nope.
it's not.
That's Fire
Then
Marshal.
you go forward, I'll hit mine.
All right, we'll have Kevin do Fire Marshal first. Kevin?
Okay, so basically, the only increases that we're having is for personnel contractual. And the other add-on was for fire marshal special supplies. It went from 4,300 to 4,800. That's only $500, and that is for specifically community safety incentives. If somebody needs smoke detectors, CO detectors, we go out and install them and educate them on why they're important to have.
Which is such a wonderful program that you do that.
Absolutely, yeah. And then the other accounts are the basic professional development, which is the specific classes that we have to take. And then the training is when we actually go out into the state, or sometimes we go to the National Academy to get educated and get certificates that way.
Good.
So,
And I know, Kevin, one of the things when we have our weekly meetings, we were talking about was you really wanted to get out and talk to our regular residents. And I know
Absolutely.
you and the Assistant Fire Marshal, you've gone to Home Depot and you do presentations and demonstrations. If you could talk a little bit about that to the council and the Board of Finance.
yes, absolutely. So we're just getting geared up to be in the community a lot more. We want to go to businesses and explain to them the reasons we come out to visit them, and to obviously educate them all why we're here. We have to do the inspections of all commercial, industrial, and 3 family or more residentials. And the education is the biggest part, so people understand. Some people don't like us out there, and that's fine, but we need to do it. It's a statute by the state of Connecticut. We have to do it. And one of the issues we have is that we charge the inspection fees. I know we're probably not gonna make the, I believe it's $60,000 goal that we had due to COVID, obviously. We weren't out as much as we were. But being that it's a statute that we have to do these, it's not like the zoning or building, they want something from them. They don't wanna see us. So we're having trouble collecting money. We're getting very aggressive with trying to get the money back into the town, so we're working on that.
Okay, but another initiative you had was to make sure that anybody that needed a smoke detector got one. So
Absolutely.
if you could kind of talk to the council, I know you partnered with Home Depot, right, to get some?
Yep,
You
so
can tell the
they
kind of council
donated
Board of Finance.
$1,000 worth of smoke detectors. I worked with Jasmine, we're working with Butterbrook. Anybody that needs one, we tell them, call the office, and that day we will go out and install them in the residence or wherever they're at. So it's something that we're very, very proud to do, and, you know, life safety is the number one thing in this community.
Absolutely.
So,
Any questions for Kevin?
Kevin, would you be willing to come to a Rotary meeting and chat for 15 or 20 minutes, answer questions about all this?
absolutely.
Because that program is just amazing, and everybody must know somebody who doesn't have a Well, they might have a smoke alarm, but it might not be working, no battery in it, you know,
Yeah.
little education.
Yep. and
That'd be
it-
great. I'll give you a call.
It is kind of scary to see all the places that we go into that they don't even have them, or obviously the battery's taken out, but we're there to educate them and get them going, so,
Thank you, I'd call you up then.
all right?
Any, Walter?
Hey, Kevin?
Go ahead,
Hold
Chris.
on. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. I know during COVID, you were kind of struggling to get a supply of smoke detectors. Is that eased, or are you okay now?
Yes, we just received a $1,000 grant from Home Depot, and they gave it to us in the form of smoke detectors, so we're well stocked right now, but almost every week we're going out and putting them into people that need them, so.
Terrific, terrific. And I appreciate the great level of professionalism you bring to the office, so thank you.
Thanks, Chris, appreciate it.
Walter?
Just a quick question. You
Yes,
said you're
sir.
giving out smoke detectors. What about carbon monoxide detectors?
We do have-
Are they combined or is it
Yes,
separate?
if somebody calls and needs a CO detector,
You do
then
that too, okay.
they will get it, yep. So,
And those CO detectors, they last for a long time now. They're pretty good.
yeah, there's some really good ones out there, they're very expensive, but
Yeah.
Kind of worth it.
you get what you pay for. That's the way I look at it, so it's well worth the money.
Any other questions for Kevin? Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Good job.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Great
Now, we're back to Jim with emergency management.
All right, well, I'm back with my emergency management hat.
Yeah,
The
Tom.
Emergency Management Director, James Farrell of Town of New Milford. I don't have the formal presentation, evidently it's in some different location. I did do one. It's not really much to it. Basically, the budget consists of the stipends for myself and Kevin Reynolds, who's the Deputy Emergency Management Director. Obviously, we, for the last 2 years, have been excessively busy. Throughout this entire COVID project, I've been the Emergency Management Director, and Kevin took over the personal protective equipment requirements for the entire town. So we have been scavengers and working very diligently in getting all this out, and then doing the requirements of getting it out to the general public. We work very hard on vaccinations, testing, test kits, masks, gowns, garments. We even went out and got a freezer for a Pfizer freezer, and then the Public Works Department had to figure out a way of getting that into a air-conditioned room. So it's been a very long haul with this, but I'm very proud of all the different departments and all the different volunteers in New Milford that have helped support this initiative and make this look good. And the reality is we helped our people out tremendously in terms of a town. We were one of the only towns that had our own COVID vaccination clinics. We were sometimes going 3-5 days a week at certain points, sometimes 1,000 people a day. That got a little bit much, but we tried handling that. Huge sequence of volunteers, some of which are sitting around this table, but that took a great effort amongst all of our different agencies. So, can't be more proud to see how, the planning goes into being actually induced into the town. Now that we're coming out of this and we're looking at being backed out of that, we can now go back into planning instead of participation mode. So what we are looking at is a $19,000 budget. And with that, that's really all we're looking at. That's the 2 stipends, and then we're looking at $4,000 worth of materials and supplies. Last year, we did not have to use a lot of those materials and supplies because, like I said, during the activation, I can get a lot of stuff and requirements through the state of Connecticut. And that's exactly what we did. And with ICAS, we also got water, food, and those type of items that we could hand out to people who did not have electricity or water, et cetera. We have some reserve, and that's one thing I want to do as an emergency management director. I want to keep that reserve. I don't want to sit there and go 2 weeks before or a week before, we got a big storm coming in, let's go see what we can get into the stockpiles that we may need immediately. Right now, we have a starter, and then we can add to that as necessary. And I want to keep that going forward. That's part of the $4,000. In addition, I know we've been talking with the mayor. I've been talking with Jack on a couple of occasions regarding getting a home for an emergency management an EOC, a center. Couple different options that we're looking at. I've got another one I'm going to run by the mayor probably towards the end of the week, and dealing with the temporary one if they're looking at putting one in with the new Public Works redevelopment scenario as well, because it would just make sense to coordinate with those groups that you would use most often during an emergency event and be located closely together. It's pretty much the budget there. Are there any specific questions or
Any
comments?
questions? Katie?
So Jim, I know you want to be modest, but I have to say, you definitely were part of that whole vaccination thing, and I know that you were there a long time, long days, just like the rest of us, so thank you for that. But I also, I think all of you in the emergency management, you do such a wonderful job, and it's sometimes thankless. We drive right by you, just like CERT. We know you're there, but we don't always admit it, we don't let you know. So thank you for that. On behalf of everybody, right, Walter?
Yes,
Thank
you're very
you
welcome.
very much, very much.
Thomas?
Yes, thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it all. Do you also work with folks who need emergency evacuations?
We try and set up an evacuation plan, but most of the evacuation requirements go through the fire department and or the police department in terms of actually pulling people out. But once they come out, I help coordinate CERT, which is the Citizens and Community Response Team, and those are the people that help set up the shelters and things like that. They completely redid their shelter organizational requirements to meet up with the new COVID requirements and sectioning places off, and we've been very busy doing that planning on along those sides as well. So again, when you start talking about an evacuation proceeding or something like that, there's a whole group of individuals that you call. Yes, I'm the person that gets called, and then I start handing the assignments down the line, and then they start taking those over.
Okay, so what if it's a larger group of people? What if it's a camp like Bucks Rock or the Pratt Center, and they're full of kids and no vehicles and need to evacuate?
Okay, let's go for a perfect example. One, unfortunately, we had to do several years ago.
Okay.
I would have been Chestnut Grove.
Yeah.
They had a water leak that collapsed the ceiling. All right, that shut the whole place down.
Wow.
It's 5 degrees outside. You're dealing with a bunch of elderly people in the middle of the building.
That's what I'm talking about.
We had to bring in buses. And we grabbed a couple of different drivers from the senior center. The assistant to the mayor happened to have a passenger endorsement on her license, so she came up and took one of their vans. The fire department was working on the structure themselves, and then the fire department walked each and every person back to their room to make sure they had their medications, had their clothing, had their this, had their contact information. We took them all to the senior center where CERT was set up to log them all in, get contacts. It took us 14 hours, but we got everybody a place to go.
Wow.
So there was a well-organized effort on that. So that's just a working example of how this goes. Yes, if you have to evacuate a camp, camps have evacuation proceedings actually, which will be invoked very quickly. As my wife has run both the Boy Scout camps and the Girl Scout camps in this town for many years, they all have evacuation proceedings for tornadoes or anything else like that.
The state actually requires that of camps, so.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right, okay. So I was just wondering where, do they actually contact you and get things, do you work with them on the plans?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. They have to contact us.
Just one
and
more
things
thing
like
on your
that.
list.
Yeah, but that's the pre-planning part of it. That's part of the planning of the emergency management group. I'm also diligently working on trying to coordinate a 100-year flood emergency procedure and stage that. We all know where the floodplain is, but we need to look at how we stage that. And being the wetlands enforcement officer helps me understand the flooding sequence that goes on as we get feedback from NOAA or the gauging stations along the river. So that's also in the process as well. I'm hoping by the end of this year, I'll be able to tell you the 264 structures that are actually in the floodplain, what level in the floodplain they are, whether you need to deal with if it's going to have to be an evacuation proceeding or if it's just a shed or something like that. This is all stuff we're taking a look at.
Wow, sounds like you have a show.
Again, we got a lot
One of your
different,
Wednesdays.
a
Mayor.
lot of different people working on a lot of different things as well.
You're on your stipend. Thank you.
Yes, you do.
Joe?
Jim, golly, man, you're like, I don't know, you're an MVP, man. You're like everywhere, right? So you're on the fire department, right?
I'm still a member of the fire department.
Still a member of the fire
past chief.
department? And then CERT is separate from emergency management, or is that all kind of part of the same thing?
CERT is under DEMIS, the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay.
But yes, I'm the one that activates them. I am the one that calls for them, et cetera. They have to run everything through me. They
Right.
cannot activate without either the mayor or the emergency management director giving them permission to go forward.
All right. And is there like a community shelter, like aside from the senior center? I know we had talked about using like, I don't know, John Pettibone or something like that, or other
Yes,
schools in the area?
Depending upon the staging that we need, there are various community shelters for it. Warming and cooling stations, we can either use, we used to use 25 Church Street, but we've been using, since that is no longer an option, we sometimes use the library during the day, have people go there. That hasn't been an option during COVID, so we've been using this building here. We've also opened up, during ICAS, we opened up the MAX. So that's a secondary backup as the MAX for a certain number of individuals. If we need to go to overnight sheltering, we go to Sarah Noble School. Because at that point in time, we're shut down. We have Sarah Noble School. We have the lower level gym, the upper level gym, the food cafeteria area. And when we were actually in there regarding our COVID requirements, we looked in the library, and they have some separate rooms in the library that's there. We were making those potentially isolation units. So again, these are all things that are being looked at. You've got a lot of people going through a lot of different things doing that. So
And all of that is encompassed in this stipend of 14,000 and the general equipment of 5,000, or is there other? I mean, it sounds like you do a lot with like $19,000. I'm just,
well,
that's it, right? That's
yeah. But there's a tremendous amount of volunteerism in this community.
right.
When it comes to emergency management, there is. If you went to any of those vaccination stations that we had, 90% of the people there were volunteers. It
Right.
probably even more than that
90.
were volunteers.
More than
Yeah.
90.
Yeah.
And general equipment is only 5,000 in the budget.
At this juncture, yes.
Okay.
Because I have the opportunity potentially, if we go to open an EOC, get grants for it, so it doesn't cost the taxpayers money. So, we do have different stipends and different grants and things like that we do go after every single year to offset, yes.
And do we get them periodically, or is
We get them periodically, but like I said, they have just basically shut that down at the moment because everybody in Department of Homeland Security, DEMIS, emergency management groups and things like that have been strictly focused on all the COVID. So they put all the money into the COVID items. Now what that did is was able to get us to be able to get grants and stipends through our COVID fund. So, but that was different than the EMD's organization. It got slid over into really the Department of Public Health.
Right, right. Well, thank you, man. I mean, it's incredible all the stuff you do for the community.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim.
Very well.
Jim?
Yes.
Just a comment. Obviously, we've talked about the vaccination clinics and the test kits, and I can't tell you how many comments I've heard about how well organized all that was, and a lot of that is due to Councilwoman Francis and her Army volunteers, but certainly you and your volunteers. I can't imagine things running more smoothly than they did. But most importantly, with the emergency management, I know a lot of these natural disasters that we've had, oftentimes in Milford is, we're on our own. We can't depend on state or certainly federal or to be there to help our citizens, but you and your team are there. The planning that you do is incredible, and when what hits the fan, your people are out there and just do an incredible job. So thanks very much.
You're very welcome. Just the one thing that people need to those people that are listening and town council members, when you do hit a natural disaster, the reality is you're on your own for at least 3 to 5 days.
Yep.
Right.
So remember that and be aware of that and be prepared for that. Because even in the town, they're not going to get here. When we had that microburst in the south end of town, they couldn't get to us. That's how simple that was. We had no contact with Brookfield really, until we actually took our ATV through the woods to get down there because you couldn't use the roads. So, these are things that you have to look at.
Well, thank you for letting us know.
Yep.
Be prepared for 5 days, Jim. That's
Yeah,
good.
you have to be
5 days,
prepared for
right?
5 days, yeah.
Thank
I
you,
have
Jim.
my water.
Okay.
Hey, Stephanie.
All right.
Tom texted me, want to make sure you.
Thank you, Jim.
Is Mark coming?
Next, we're gonna go to Sullivan Farm, and Mark had texted me right before our meeting that they had an emergency at Sullivan Farm. So, let's go to page 41 first, which is the revenues.
Oh, you're gonna do it?
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
As you can see, there's an increase of $30,000 in revenues, and speaking with Mr. Mencken, who is running our farm operation, that is due to the fact of additional sales due to COVID. A lot of people are getting farm fresh versus going to the store, and that's benefited Sullivan Farm. Also, I want to let you know, too, Sullivan Farm was a main component of getting fresh food to our food bank. I asked Mr. Mencken, year before last, it was over a ton of food, and this year, we're going to be approaching almost 2 tons of food that we're going to be delivering to our food bank. I've asked him with a charge of getting an increase of even more for next year, of which he feels confident that that can happen. Also at Sullivan Farm, it's an agro-education center. When we weren't in COVID, we had a lot of schools that would come up to Sullivan Farm to learn about farming, to learn about the soil, learn about ecology. Due to COVID, obviously the schools shut all that down. We work in tandem with the youth agency as well. And now that the schools are beginning to open back up, we're going to be seeing those wonderful students come back to Sullivan Farm. Also, we're going to be working with providing educational courses for our residents and those outside of New Milford with different farming opportunities. We're also going to have blacksmithing up there. They also have the making of the sugar shack there. So that's a true destination point that we're working on now that we're coming out of COVID. And I'll have more information for the council as we continue on with that trend. So that's page 42 with the revenues. Does anybody have any questions on the increase in revenues?
He had suggested a $10,000 increase, and then you added another 20, is that right?
And, yep, and speaking with him as we were going through the budget and moving in, because this starts with us in October, early October, we continue to see the trends of sales continuing to grow, and he felt comfortable that we would add the additional revenue in there.
I was going to ask what's his peak, but he does the maple syrups as well as the summer produce.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know which one's the money, is the maple syrup the money maker?
Maple syrup makes
Okay.
a good amount of
That's
money
it.
for them.
So there's
Absolutely.
profit to be
Oh,
had.
absolutely.
Okay, so where does that profit go?
Goes back into the farm.
It's self-sustaining.
You got self-sustaining accounts. So whatever they can bring in, that's the expenditures they're gonna use.
To lower the budget.
Yep,
Allows us to have the resource.
Right.
absolutely.
Makes for the programs, everything.
Pete, do they go to the green?
They are not at the green. They do sales on Saturdays at the farm.
They do, okay.
Yeah. And he was just telling me this year was lights out for them as far as sales of the produce that they
Yeah,
that they
people
were
are really,
selling there.
people are really trying to buy local. It's really neat. I love it.
And if we can go to page 173, which is the expense side. As you can see, the breaks it out a little bit more on page 174. As you can see, the personnel, and that was the minimum wage went up. Obviously, that means the wages for the personnel goes up for some of the farm hands that we have there. As Mr. Mencken has done this job for us for $1, as he's been retired and he loves this, and so he's been doing this for $1 for us. Materials and supplies are the same, and Sullivan Farm self-sustaining, as we just talked about, that's where you can see the increase in the expenditure as well as in the revenue. Any questions on the phone?
So I'm going to follow up to that number.
Sure.
This is where I wish we had more information, because It's just what I'd like to know is, what is he gonna spend that $85,000 on?
I
You
can-
know, I mean, I see seeds on the list, but that, in my brain,
So,
but
yep,
that's
so what he
one
would
of.
be spending it on is machinery. He'd be spending it on material. He'd be spending it on crops. He'd be spending it on fertilizer. He'd be spending it on, yep, he'd be spending it on the coverings that you put over the plants. He would be spending it on day-to-day operations. I can ask him for a list
I
if you'd
just,
like.
you know, because I think $85,000 is a lot of money, and it would be nice to know how he manages that money. That's all.
Sure.
The farm, and I'd like to know more than just,
I'm sure he would love for you to come up there and kind of take a tour
I've been,
of
but I can do
Sullivan
it
Farm
again.
and kind of see what they do up there.
I've been, and I can do it again. But for the sake of budgeting, I feel that there should be a bit more fleshing out of the
Well,
85,000.
you know, Mr. Mankin, from when he was with the youth agency in the Max and up there with the kids half the time or whatever, he manages to be very self-sufficient, sustaining with all of his programs, and,
That's not the question.
no,
at
no,
all.
right, but
that
I,
is not.
sometimes it's hard for him, I think, to put it into a chart.
Okay, we'll ask him.
Yeah,
Ask
I've
him.
asked in the past, but it all works out, that he does come up with it, so.
I have one question. Are they operating like organically, or what's the?
No.
Yeah, there's, I mean, in the time, my time there, it's all, no bad sprays, no chemicals, that kind of thing. And they have a beautiful greenhouse at the Friends of Sullivan Farm, paid for, walk-in cooler box in the barn, that,
We'll take a tour.
there's
Any-
lots of great stuff there.
Any other questions? Okay. Next is Public Works. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I know.
All the pages you have for them. This takes a long time.
I could try, Walter.
He said 5 minutes.
UConn game's on at 8:30, I just want you to know that.
I like to watch it
Okay, on page 1,
in the beginning.
in the beginning with you.
Anyway, we didn't put every single number in your presentation, so.
I don't think you want to say it like that, do you? You didn't put every number in.
We're the Public Works Department. We are dedicated to trying to, make the town publicly safe. We're in charge of the roads and bridges and sidewalks. Anyway, we have a mission statement that we follow very closely to provide top-quality, professional, effective, and timely services to residents, businesses, and customers. We do this by focusing on relationships with ourselves and our customers, and on our customer service and satisfaction, thus improving our image and maintaining the community's trust. We support and enhance a high quality of life for the town's residents, businesses, and visitors by providing well-planned, environmentally sensitive, cost-effective infrastructure and services to promote public health, personal safety, transportation, economic growth, and civic vitality. And I know since, I've been here 3 years, and I know since I've been here, I worked very hard on customer service. Customer service, to me, I have 28,000 customers. And we try to, you don't satisfy everybody every day, but you try to listen and work with them. I'm sorry, Lorene Beatty and Mike Bouch are here tonight with me, so if I don't have the answer, they're going to, I hope. We have a total of 52 and a half members of the DPW team, and I know a half's sort of a funny number. We share a person, we don't cut them in half, we actually share that person with Park and Rec. That person works for us a half of the year, and he works for Park and Rec half of the year, so it works out very well. We have 11 staff that works in the office, either supervisors, engineering, inspectors, financial, Lorene does all the accounting, keeps us straight. Naya works at the board and answers the calls. The highway has 27 and a half drivers. We have 5 mechanics. In the facilities department, we have increased by 1 person this year, so we now have 9 technicians or custodians working in the facilities department. What are the services? What do we do every day? And I want to stress, our work focuses on public safety. That's our main focus. We have to provide and make everything we do safe. We have to reach certain standards. And we try to do that and work with our residents to make them see the results of that work. We meet with the mayor every Friday, and we stress, there's certain things he's expecting us to do. His goal, his real stress this year has been work on the roadsides, make sure they're clear, make sure we have good sight lines, and we're able to keep the roads in good condition. So we have 200 miles of paved roads, 26 miles of gravel roads. We have over 60 bridges. And I know with Katie, I actually brought the list of bridges with me, in case you asked a question on it. Try to be prepared.
Each bridge?
Just kidding. Yeah, how much time you got? You want to see the UConn game?
Not enough.
We have the drainage systems, and we've been working hard on the drainage systems. Unfortunately, for New Milford, the drainage systems are old, and so there's a lot of work that has to be done on those. Sidewalks, we, on a continuous basis, are working on the sidewalks. We have several projects I'll talk about in the future, grants that we're working on so we can improve our sidewalks. The last year and a half, we've purchased a bucket truck. So we're doing a lot of our own tree work. Mike works very hard with that. He keeps the truck in good condition. We've had people who are trained. We actually get them trained now so that they can work near the wires. So we're able to do more of the work, keep the trees back off the roads, and we can do a little bit of emergency work also. Obviously, winter maintenance and snow removal, that's when you see us out there. The guys work a lot of hours, and I think that, I come through several towns on my way here. I'm biased, but I think that New Milford's roads are by far the best on my trip in. And if they're not, I give them a call on the way in.
Yeah.
So. Emergency response. We've had several large storms in the last few years. Again, I give the guys a lot of credit. They're out there. They're trained. They keep their equipment ready to go. We work very closely with Jim Farrell and with the mayor. We also work very closely with Eversource. We're trying to make sure that we're able to get to people and cut down on that 3 to 5 days. If somebody's, we've even gone out and delivered food to people if we have to, just so that that they're safe in their homes. We also have a vehicle and equipment management. The town has been very good to us. I will tell you, I've worked in several towns. Right now, your investment into the capital equipment has been very good for the last several years, and I foresee it being good going forward. We're endeavoring to make sure that equipment's well maintained, and we get good money out of it. Last year, I think we got 3 trucks, Mayor, from through grants with EPA that helped us eliminate several old trucks, and then also we're able now to have a couple of spares, right, Mike? We have several spares now.
3 spares.
Yeah, so, and that's important. If you've never managed a crew, when I went from the private sector to the public sector, one of the interesting things is be there for a snowstorm, a heavy snowstorm, and all of a sudden you have people coming in and saying, well, I blew a brake can, or I blew a chain in the sander. All of a sudden you think you have plenty of people out there and you're down 3 or 4 trucks, and mechanics are trying to get those back out, and so now some of the routes aren't being covered, so. The services we provide, we do a lot of department asset management. Roads. We work closely with the Municipal Road Committee and the Traffic Authority. We work to reclaim the roads, chip seal them, fog seal them. We install new guide rails where we need to. We work on road markings, bridges. This has become very important to us. We've inspected all of our bridges. You don't want to see the results, but the results, we're getting better. And I know we've got 3 bridges right now, and we just finished Mud Pond. Gaylord Road Bridge has been started. They've already cast the box culvert, and I got a text this afternoon from Black and Warner. They're putting up the signs to start work on Tamarack Road Bridge. So those 3 bridges are in process. We have 2 bridges planned upcoming. Upland Road Bridge. It's a program that we've entered in with the state. We don't have to pay for the engineering. They do the engineering, and then it's a federal local grant. The DOT pays 80%. We pay 20%. On the engineering, though, instead of us hiring an engineer, they do the engineering. We work closely with them, and so that bridge will start next year. And we're working with them. We have an 80% grant, and they've done the engineering. We're getting ready to start doing the presentations, public presentations on it. So next year, I expect 2 bridges, and we have a 10-year bridge plan. Also, we have, I've put a little extra money into it this year. There are several bridges that we're gonna repair ourselves, some of the smaller ones, and we're gonna work on repairing ourselves. There's one on Housatonic Avenue, take a right, that one has scour. We're looking at how we can fix the scour protection ourselves, and avoid having to hire a construction firm. Drainage, we have a program called the ICE program. We started that when I first came with the mayor. What we do is we identify areas in town where you have ice build up on the roads, and then in the spring we attack that. We go out and we put under drains in those areas, and we get the water off the road so that you don't have the ice. It reduces our maintenance costs and the damage to the road. I think one of the first ones we did was Jerusalem Hill, and I think that's been fine the last several years. Mike and I were out today inspecting a couple more roads to add them to the ICE program. We install under drains, pipe system repair, and then we also add drainage where we need to. Sidewalks, it's a continuous repair program. We are planning additions, Route 7 and Aspetuck Road. There'll be new sidewalks there probably in about a year and a half. It's a grant from the state. We're putting in 20%, the state putting in the remainder. We're also working on it. We've been awarded a grant, and we're gonna go back to the COG to add to it over $1 million for the sidewalks on Wellsville. During that process, we found out that the state West COG has additional funds for roads, so we are now next week going to complete a application and submit it, and it'll give us up to another additional $1 million to repair Wellsville Road, or Avenue, excuse me, and so we'll have up to $2 million to do the sidewalks and roads to have that repaired. Dams, Reservoir 4, we are working on the Reservoir 4 dam. The council did give us $1.2 million for repair. We are working on that. You will see, in fact, in the next month and a half, 2 months, the Public Works Department will be up there starting to move trees and cleaning that up. And we're working with an engineering firm to design a repair on the dam so that ultimately it'll be there for a long time, and the water level and everything, it'll stay looking pretty much the way it does, and it'll be a nice place to go and visit. Facilities, our facilities department is picking up additional work. We work closely with the municipal building committee. We are helping them manage the high school roof, the town hall roof projects that are currently going on. This year we worked on the Max building renovation. The mayor's asked us to take more responsibility as far as managing the buildings. Dave Martin has worked very hard on that, and I think you can see he's out painting some of the buildings, the interiors, making sure they look sharp. He just finished up part of the police station. And then this year, also, the facilities department took on 2 extra things. We have emergency generators. We found that there was really no program for anybody to take responsibility and maintain the generators. Dave and his team have taken that on. They're on a maintenance program. Once a quarter, they're started and checked. So therefore, anytime we have an emergency, all of the generators are ready to go and will be in place. Also, the the towers, radio towers, it fallen through the cracks at some point, and I'm not sure why, but the maintenance on those weren't really allocated to anybody. And this summer, we had a problem with one of the towers where I had a fire chief call me and said, I can see the tower, but I can't reach it with my radio. And so we got it fixed right away. The mayor approved us doing some work on it. So if you look into your budget, you'll see where I've asked for a little bit of extra money. So now we have money to continually take care of those towers. At the towers, there's also air conditioning units that are in the units that have to be maintained so that the control systems stay operational. And part of the problem was those units are starting to fail. So we now have those on preventive maintenance, and Dave and his team are managing those. Project management, we're doing roads, bridges, sidewalks, facilities, support of the river. We also support the Riverfront Committee and on their work also. So we do construction management. We have two people who are inspectors who work for us continuously during the summer. We had one that retired. Our new person coming on is going to be required to get NICET certified so that he can do bridges and roads and be certified to meet all the state requirements. We have a staff that works with residential customers. We work on permitting, driveways, right-of-ways. We work with inland wetlands and planning and zoning as they need services. Lorene and Naya do, I would say, 95% of our contract administration and financials. Oops, what happened here? Did I skip something here? Nope. Previous. Here we go. The facilities department, currently manage 257,000 square feet. We have full custodial services. I just wanted to highlight during the COVID work for the last couple of years, they have been working a lot of hours. They've taken on a lot of additional responsibility. We go through material safety data sheets, making sure any of the chemicals we bring in meet the requirements and are COVID safe. They've installed shields. They've done, they've sprayed areas. They built a room for the vaccination clinic so that we could put the vaccine down there. And they've been supporting, as needed, the testing and vaccination. We have somebody at the building, and hopefully open with a key,
Yes.
so that you can open it. They maintain the streetlights. They maintain the security and fire protection for the town. As I said, the radio tower, we've got new efforts on the radio tower and the generator. We also are managing an energy program within the town. We have a company going around, currently they're replacing lights and things like that, but there's much more activity coming this summer. You'll see solar panels being installed, a cogen system at the high school, new air conditioning systems. And I work closely with them. I meet with them every Thursday on financials. The mayor's tasked us to make sure that we come up with a first payment that's due in December. We are working on the town hall roof. We are working on roof projects. Not only the two that you see, but Dave is constantly working on checking the roofs and making sure that they're not leaking. We've also been starting to do work on the JPCC roof. We're doing it section by section. Instead of biting it all off, we're going to do it section by section there. The max, we've taken on the max as far as completely, we maintain it now and we manage it. We've got a service come in, make sure that the kitchen is clean. It meets health code requirements. We upgraded the area where the kids meet. We made a new little kitchen out there for them so they can be trained on home skills. We put in a washer and dryer for them. So the building has been updated and it's been painted. New bathrooms also. I don't know why that one came up again. Anyway, at the end, just in summary, because I know everybody likes numbers. I'm a numbers person myself. For our budget last year was $7,915,803. We're requesting a 1.2% increase. A lot of the numbers you'll see, you'll look at certain things like the salt, things like that have gone down. We use a rolling average because some years we use more salt, some years we don't. So the only way to really predict that is we do a 5-year rolling average, and then so sometimes it goes down, sometimes it goes up. This year we're asking for $8,015,208. In summary, we are also implementing, we are becoming the, we are working on the end of this year, becoming the second Public Works Department to be APWA certified. That means that I don't know if anybody here works in ISO 9000 or 14000. I managed 14,000 when I was with private industry. It's basically that. They come in, they see what you have for protocols, make sure you do what you say and say what you do. We're being proactive in maintaining the town's infrastructure to keep it in a safe condition. And we really are striving to be courteous, professional, effective, and provide timely services to residents, businesses, and customers. And thank you.
I know, Jack, your last bullet point there is providing a courteous, professional, effective, and timely service to residents. I know in working with Lorraine and Mike, New Milford now has the See-Click Fix.
Yes.
Which a resident, if they see a pothole or they see water going on the road, they can download the app, See-Click Fix, New Milford, click it, put in, there's a drop down on there, could be a pothole, could be water on the side of the road, take a picture, click it, put it in, and it goes right to Lorraine and Mike, and you can watch it go through the system, and it's an alert for Mike and his team for problems that they may not see as they go through their day. And the more eyes that are on those things, the better.
You can also get to it through fixnewmilford.com, and then it takes you to a website that'll do the same thing if you don't have a phone app.
Awesome.
I know residents will call me and they'll say, I don't mean to complain. And I always try to tell them, you're not complaining. It helps. We have 52 and a half people, whatever, and when it's nice to have another 28,000 set of eyes out there calling us and saying, hey, because we've got 226 miles of roads. and everything else. So, you know, if people call and tell us, it makes it easier for us. We can put it into the system and then we can respond.
So, questions for Jack?
Okay, so Jack,
Okay.
see quick fix, great, but what I want is what I needed tonight. I hit a pothole driving, you know, it's dark, rainy, and I said something out loud in the car. And it would have been nice if there'd been somebody who knew where I was, so you'd know where that pothole was. Thanks for everything you do as far as taking the professional standpoint with the residents and with every person that you deal with, not just residents, but other towns and the people that work with you. It's just, everybody there is very, very friendly, respectful. So you mentioned something interesting. So the generators and the towers, they kind of fell between the cracks. You're pretty proactive in what you've done since you came here. Do you think that we've uncovered all of these little things that fell through the cracks, or, you know, so we don't end up needing something in an emergency, and we find it's covered with cobwebs?
I've been doing this too long to say yes.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. No, I thought that was pretty interesting that those things just got forgotten. But I have another, I asked you this once before. What do you do about residential runoff? You were talking about the ICE program, which is great, and I know you've been working on all the culverts and stuff over the last couple of years. But what about the residential runoff that really isn't the town's, you know, improper grading or anything else, but somebody just has, you know, such a lot of water running off too steep a slope or whatever causes it? How do you handle that?
Okay, there's a couple of things that you have to look at. First, we have an MS4 permit that, by virtue of the MS4, we're not supposed to take the water and put it into the storm sewer. Now, that being said, I don't take the approach that it's an automatic no. In fact, the mayor and I were out looking at a couple last week. I go out and I usually talk to the resident and see what's going on. Because if the person's residence and their property is saturated already, and they go to, well, you can't put the water into the storm drain. You got to keep on your property, build a hole, you know, dig a dry well. Well, guess what? You're not going to dig a dry well. You're going to dig down. The well's going to fill up with water. Now they've got water on the surface. So what we do is we work with each case. Sometimes we will work with them to divert it into a storm drain. I know when Ed Burns was here a couple of years ago, we started looking. Believe it or not, there's like systems of drainage that are behind people's homes in some of these developments. We found that they were deeded to the town, but they weren't being maintained. So Public Works, Mike and the guys have been out looking at some of those. We actually, as far as MS4, I had to certify to them that we actually have a program to clean these drainage basins. So in there, you'll see where that's a line item.
For those new on the council and board of finance, MS4 is
it's a permit. It's a requirement for municipal storm drains, and it's very involved. We have to look for illicit discharges. We have to look for people who are work with businesses. So when you apply for a planning and zoning permit or a zoning permit, we have to look at it to make sure any water you generate you maintain on site. We have to look at to see if there's bacteria in the water that's being caused by the town. And one of the things I'm working on right now, and it's actually it comes out of some people discussing it with Scenic Road, is the amount of siltation we get off of the gravel roads in the winter. And I'm actually working on a paper I'm publishing through Worcester Polytech, and I'm using that. I'm trying to create a model where we can model that. So I'm working with somebody on modeling that to see how we can build sediment ponds and sedimentation traps so we can stop that from occurring.
No, there are a few places, I've had a couple of people mention it to me that when we had that really cold weather, then we had the rain, and then it came, is that it's a safety hazard when somebody's got the runoff across the road. The rest of the road is fine, but there's this ice rink there. And, I always say, call and talk to DPW about it so you at least know. But I guess you do the best you can with it, right? Because some people don't have a way to stop it.
Well, we try to work with them, and that's part of why, if I go back, remember we talked about the ICE program? A lot of the ICE program is exactly about that. And we do, Mike will go out or Chuck will go out and look and identify those. And then we plan it as part of our summer work. Part of our conversations on Fridays with the mayor is we talk about each program we have. And ICE program is one of the ones that we talk about. And I think we've averaged about 5 or 6 a year for the last couple of years.
Well, that's good.
Just trying to pick them off as we go.
Right,
And that
because it is a
reduces-
hazard, you
It
know,
is.
if you're at an intersection, for instance, you know, and there's no way that people stop. As I said, I tell them to call you and you take care of it.
Yeah. We work on it, and so that is actually going to be Chuck's one of the things that Chuck has to do this summer.
Well, thank you, and thanks for all the work that you guys do.
Any questions? Joe?
Mayor?
Who's there?
Real quick, do you know what the status is with the high school roof? Where does it stand?
It's yeah, because I'm the one to shut it down.
Okay.
So I gave them a notice to proceed again yesterday. They have to send me a report every day telling me what they're doing. The project's gonna take a long time because it was scheduled to go through next summer anyway. We delayed it for 2 weeks because of an issue there. We've reviewed the safety plans and incorporated some new changes. They're responsible to work with Public Works and with the Facilities Department at the schools to provide a daily report and give us a 2-week look ahead and to tell us where they're going to be working and working closely with the schools so that where they work, if they work over a room or something, there'll be nobody in that room while they're working there.
Amy?
Could you tell me what the professional services line includes?
Professional services is actually, I'm gonna let Lorraine, because I usually run downstairs and say, Lorraine, where do I have some money to do something? It incorporates professional services like engineering services, things, but it's on miscellaneous projects.
Okay.
It also pays for their engineering degree, their engineering licenses, any licensing. We have, the tree warden licensing, anything like that, that's all professional services. If we have to go out and get, the dam engineers, you know, that line could cover that, or anything that has to do with a professional degree.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jack? Joe?
Mayor?
Chris.
You let Chris go.
Chris?
Yeah, so Jack, so first of all, you know, I really appreciate the job you do. It's difficult. It takes a component of technical expertise in roads and bridges, and there's a component of leadership for a pretty large team, and then there's a component of dealing with the public. And you do it all very well. And I know a lot of it is due to the two people behind you, Lorraine and Mike. They and their teams go above and beyond a lot. But I do have a few questions about the budget. So it looks like there was on the capital request that you had, that was, I think, reduced in what came into the budget. Anything that we need to know about how that might affect us in future years?
When you say reduce, which part are you talking about, Chris? Are you talking about the buildings or the equipment?
Page, was it 216? Let's see.
When we had our meeting with the mayor, Chris, we went through the
Yeah.
equipment line, and I know that
Yes.
we reduced that part based on our planning on what equipment we've been able to acquire up to this point. And then the mayor asked us if there was a couple other things we could look at, and he said that we agreed with him to reduce that for this year.
Okay.
I don't think it, as far as long-term, no, I don't believe that it has any effect on us. We've got I think a good plan. The mayor's asked me to work on a vehicle and equipment capital planning process, and I've been working, Mike's actually, he asked me to do it. Mike's really the one who's been working diligently on that, and I think we have a good program.
Okay, thank you. Town hall maintenance went up at a huge amount, but from a percentage point of view, so it looks like we're looking to do more work there this year. And I know it says painting and anything major of note.
Just more of maintenance, but also some of those increases you saw, like $3,000-4,000 per line, is really cost of materials. All of our materials have gone up a lot, and so we've been holding the line each year. this year we felt we needed to request a slight increase in each of those lines. We don't want to, I think our team takes a lot of pride in the way this building and the other buildings look. And I don't want to short them so they don't have the equipment to get that work done.
All right. Okay, all right, great, thank you, Jack.
Joe?
You know, you guys really do a great job, and you are super responsive. I actually have used both the web app and the phone app to report a couple of things that I've noticed around town, and like, especially through COVID, I was like, jogging and walking around my neighborhood and stuff, and you see a pothole, I kind of felt an obligation. They were fixed right away, which was super great. I also have a couple of questions about the budget, but I'll go backwards because we were just talking about capital. For some reason this year, there seems to be a lot of stuff with radios, from you guys to the fire department to police. I see a $95,000 budget expenditure in the capital for radios, up from $55,000 the previous year. Could you just give me a little bit of information on that?
Absolutely. That's the radio towers. There was no line item for the work we did. And it cost us about $40,000 on repairs this year. So what I did is we said we need to put money into the budget so in future years we can maintain it, keep those conditioning and the controls. And if we have to have somebody come in and climb the tower, we have money to do that. So yes, that's why that went up.
Seems pretty reasonable. And then Century Brass, another $250,000.
That yeah.
It's like another like.
Oh no, it's going to be. And it's going to go on for the next couple of years. Yes, where we are on that is the environmental closure plan ceased a few years ago. We have a regulatory responsibility to finish the closure plan, do sampling. So I have a background doing this. I've worked with EPA and DEP to put together a closure plan, and so we'll be doing sampling. There's a couple piles left out there. We're going to remove those. Ultimately, I'm proposing to them we'll cap the concrete slab, but there'll be some very isolated cleanups that we have to do, like on expansion joints in the concrete slab. We have to go in there and check those for PCBs and asbestos and remove those sections. So we'll do that. There's also underground pipes that used to do the drainage. We have to go and survey those. There may be some remediation for that. So I think I project over the next couple of years about $250,000 for the next couple of years.
So I don't know how much we can just, I know some of that was executive session stuff because there was litigation involved. Still. So we don't know who's ultimately the town or contractor or it's going to ultimately be responsible. Huh? Okay, that's fine. Yep. All right. Moving on. Sorry, I have a couple of other questions, just real quick. $20,000 in street signs.
Yeah.
Seems kind of strange, but it's.
No, you actually.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't put enough value on a street sign. It's
There's a regulatory responsibility to make sure you keep your street signs. First of all, people swipe them.
Yeah.
I think you got an email today, Mike, for a couple of signs.
Seriously?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Especially if it's like someone's last name, I want that in my house.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jack, what's the average cost for a stop sign?
Mike, what's the?
Mike,
I
Lorraine,
believe the sign is about $85.
stop sign.
I think so,
And
yeah.
they're
Just the
probably-
sign.
Just the sign.
Yeah, that's right. So they're probably the most most often ruined,
Yeah.
the ones I see bent over.
Yep, and the most often ignored.
But
They have to be
$85
replaced
a pop. That's
immediately.
got how many stop signs? Is
Well,
there?
there's stop signs, there's street signs, there's arrows.
Children.
The one where we want to put crossing signs on Railroad Street. Those will be lit, which is I think Mike, about $1,500, $2,000 for those.
1,900 for 2 of them, and the other 2 we got on the grant.
And there's
Then
also.
you have the pole and you have the labor and you got all the other stuff.
We actually have a person that does that a lot of the time. There's also responsibility. We're supposed to go out with a reflectometer and make sure that we have the right amount of reflectivity coming off of the signs. And as long as you have a program, because in Berlin, I had a $50,000 project to replace the street signs, and as the town manager, I cut it. And so then I called FHA, the Federal Highway Administration, and said, this seems like a lot of money to me. And what they came back said, you're responsible. You have to have a program. As long as you have a program, they're going to leave you alone. If you don't have a program, they will come out and they will,
So it's kind of more like ongoing maintenance. Like there's
It is. It's ongoing
line
maintenance.
item. It might be a little more. Might be a
And
little
Joe,
less.
out of that budget, we buy cones, we buy barricades.
Okay, so it's not.
Horses, stuff like that, yeah.
Right.
That comes out of that budget also.
I don't want to keep going for too long, but I do have a couple more. I don't want to also, I want to leave room for other people as well. 1.2 million in highway construction maintenance, but that doesn't include bonded roads, bonded
Right.
bridges, that sort of stuff. So that's, the 1.2 million would be more like the chip seal, that sort of stuff?
It does, like, we'll do like a mill and pave with that, but also a lot of that's dirt roads.
Okay.
We gravel roads. Mike buys a lot of gravel each year. It gets washed away, it gets broken up, when you drive over, it breaks up, so a significant, in fact, I asked an analysis recently, and I think the first cut on it was almost $300,000 we spend on the gravel roads, just in gravel and repairing them.
Because that's substantially up from, I guess that's 20, I guess not that, 20%, that's substantially up.
It should be flat from last year, it went up a couple years ago. The mayor, we had like 750,000 when I first got here, and we increased to 1.2 million a couple years, I think last year we did.
I have actuals 21, 1.02, 6 month this year is 469. But
That should be, you're talking about,
page 145, line item 56905.
one that says highway
The
construction
operating-
maintenance?
That's the
Yeah.
operating budget.
I'm sorry, what?
That's the operating
It was in the
budget.
operating budget.
Yeah. I have 1.2 last year and 1.2 this year.
It's actually gone down.
No, it's the same.
It's the same. It was the
Okay,
same.
122 is 1.2,
Yeah.
but we haven't closed the year out, so. Okay. And then, just real quick, sidewalks up Route 7, that's like a huge thing, we need that,
That's a grant project. Beta Corporation, I just got the first cut of the design. It's on.
Continuous from
Yeah, you're not
Pettibone
getting
up.
all-
No, it does, Pettibone
Please,
stops.
somebody will think that.
Will it include
But we're not
crosswalks?
getting the whole high school.
Yeah, there are some crosswalks in there, yes.
That's great. Anything with, lights?
I don't, well, I think there is a couple with lights, and we're also putting in, we're working with the church and a couple of the restaurants, we're gonna have the bus stops, we're gonna have new bus stops there also.
Nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, and one last question, cogen at the high school?
That's part of the ESG project.
Okay, and that's gonna be propane
Yeah.
turbine?
Natural gas,
Oh, natural gas?
yeah.
Okay.
Peat
Any?
bogs.
What's that?
Peat bogs.
Peat bogs, really?
Hillary?
So I'm amazed because 60 bridges, 212 miles of roads, it's just so much. And I'm curious to dig in a little bit. I'm just looking at the 5-year plan. So I'm seeing for the bridges, we have, how many, you said 2 bridges for 22, 23?
Yeah,
Is in
there
that
should be,
number?
it should be Chernesky and Upland Road.
Okay, so you've allocated 2,380
Mhm.
from that, and then I'm looking down from, the bonds. I see 4 million there. I just was kind of looking back, trying to understand our debt, how, and I see in bonding, we've done about 16 million since 2019. So I was just wondering if your planning is based on how much we have to spend or more of how much we can get done.
No, it's planning on how much we, it's not like, going just a wish list with the mayor. No, this
Right.
is something the mayor and I are working on.
Okay.
When I do capital planning, I believe you should have like a bandwidth, and you stay underneath that bandwidth. So if roads are at 6 million one year, you may do nothing in bridges, or if bridges go up to 6 million, you may not do roads. Whatever you do, you stay within a certain limit, and that way the town's, bond rating goes up.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other?
Just a quick
Katie?
question. Where on Upland Road is the bridge that you're talking about?
It's right at the begining.
That one? You're gonna,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah,
figured I was gonna ask forever.
look at it, you wouldn't think so, but,
No,
it's scour critical.
We resurfaced that bridge 3 years ago, I believe. That's why it looks that good, but it's
Well,
just the
I've
surface.
often wondered
Yeah,
when
it
it
was
was
just a
gonna come
Band-Aid.
time, because there's no, well, I guess there is another way to get out, but.
You gotta go
that's-
Wheaton Road and
Yeah,
that way.
it's a
yeah.
ways, yeah. Thanks.
But it's scour critical.
I understand.
Barbara?
You mentioned in your mission statement that satisfaction is one of the elements, and I was wondering how you measure that.
I'm
And I'm
sorry,
assuming you have satisfaction as one of the elements in your mission statement, and I was wondering how you measure that.
as far as customer satisfaction?
Yeah, and I'm assuming because you're APWA certified,
would be interested in that as well, that if it's aligned with ISO, that's something they would look into. Do you have questionnaires or surveys or?
At this point, we're not certified, we're in the process of getting
Oh, I
certified.
see.
Yeah, but I think, to your point, we do track all of the number of customers that, customer calls that come in, and Mike, make sure, Mark and Lorraine look at, how long it takes us to respond. As long as you're not talking about mailboxes.
Well, I was gonna bring that up.
But you make a very good point, yeah. It's something that, when we go to be certified, we have to have a process. You have to have a management of change process, you have to have a customer survey process. So there's a lot that's involved with with getting certified.
Do you ever do a customer survey?
I haven't done one since
Or
I've been
after
here.
work, if someone calls, do you ever go back and say, how were you treated?
I don't, Mike, have you ever, I haven't.
I just get them through emails and phone
Yeah.
calls. That's the
We
only way
get
we
people
get
saying,
feedback.
thank you, you're the only person that helped us.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that people have said that. I just was curious, because I think it would come out to the positive for sure.
We've never reached out to people for it. We
Yeah.
take it as it comes in.
I'm not gonna put the mayor in the spot, but I know when we meet on Fridays, one of the things he does say to us is that the number of calls he gets
Right.
has decreased.
Yep.
And believe me, he would tell me if it didn't.
And I had one more, and that is have you noticed any impact on the snowplows by not being able to draw from the recycling?
No.
Okay.
Good. How's the pothole machine?
The pothole machine.
I'm asking for a friend who, probably has a bent rim, but.
Pothole machines runs every day. We had a point where it was down, and I'm gonna let Mike talk, because one of the issues we had is that the solution was gelling, and, I'm gonna let Mike tell you what he did.
The emulsion stays at 160 degrees, so when it's plugged into the wall at night, it stays at 160 degrees. As soon as you unplug it, it takes all the heat source away. So when he's out driving around in the cold, it cools it off real quick.
Great.
So we used our brains, we put a generator on the truck, we fire that up, we plug it in, it stays at 160 degrees all day, so we can run it in any weather.
Great.
But we had a period of time when it was too cold to put it out there.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure.
we ended
when it
up,
was
we
so-
ended up clogging it up pretty bad and had to send it off to be cleaned out, so.
Well, the state road is what, the huge one I saw tonight.
They have their own.
Can't do
Yeah, maybe
anything
we
there.
can encourage it.
They have their own pothole truck,
Into
Chris.
that new $7 million barn they're gonna build down the road.
I know, it's
And
big.
I believe it's over 52,000 potholes that the machine's
Yeah,
done, right, Mike?
we're up there, yes.
Really? You're over 50,000?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Way
we're
to
like at
go.
Probably hit it
52,000.
before
My
winter.
son was actually upset because you guys paved their neighborhood. Because when we would walk around, we'd regularly see the pothole machine. He'd watch it,
We'll give him a schedule, he can go find us and do it.
I don't need more work.
You guys want to do my driveway?
Yeah.
No private work.
Joe?
We're not
Great
paying
work,
for,
Mike.
we're not paying for mailboxes, we not go,
No.
correct?
Okay, there's a policy on that. If the snow hits the mailbox, no, that's the resident, it's the resident's responsibility. If we hit it with a plow,
Yes.
we repair the mailbox.
Jack, we will repair it for elderly and disabled.
4 in a row. I know.
How elderly was it?
If you call and say, I can't get it back up, we'll come and at least put it back up so you can get mail.
Duct tape.
At any age, that's what we'll do. If you say you can't get it back up, you don't have the resources, whatever, we'll come, we'll make sure it's at least stood back up.
Thank you, Mike.
But Joe, there's a limit, in Litchfield one
Thank you,
time,
Mike.
I had somebody call with the mailbox got hit. We went up and picked it up, it was a, handmade copper mailbox valued at $800.
Jack, you'll have to come look in the break room. We have one in there right now that was knocked down.
People may not remember, I don't know if you were here then, Katie, when the council decided to pay for mailboxes about 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And everybody in New Milford owned a mailbox
Yeah.
worth $500 for
That's
some
right.
reason. And that stopped pretty quick.
As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, I went out and bought one just for that reason.
Luckily, I had somebody who was an artiste, so he took the copper mailbox and put it back together, we put it back up. And then I went to the Board of Selectmen, which I was a member of the Board of Selectmen at the time, and we passed an ordinance and only paid $40.
That's a slippery slope, that.
That's good to know, Mike, that if an elderly person, you'll put it back up, because otherwise they're really messed up on getting their mail.
It's not worth to leave them hanging. It's the argument we get, it's easier to just, if you can't get it back up, we'll come and, even if it means hammering a green
Gotcha.
pole and just attaching it to it to get it in the
Good to
ground.
know. Remember that, Walter. We live in the path of the plow.
It's in the policy, Chris, we do have a caveat, and we do, Mike, it's in the policy, right, that we do it for elderly?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's pretty obvious if it gets a direct contact hit. There's no question if the plow hits it. That's 2,500 pounds hitting it.
I
so.
know that.
Any
Last-
other questions?
Just
for-
last comment. I just wanted to thank you, having worked on Sustainable Connecticut, of being open-minded and doing training and thinking out of the box in terms of, killing back the weeds, the invasives, with less toxic. And so I just wanted to thank you for being open-minded.
We haven't sprayed in at
Doing all
least
that.
5 years.
Yeah,
We haven't
it's-
used any
it's
spray.
awesome.
You don't have to,
I
there's a lot of
appreciate it.
alternatives
Yes.
to that.
Right.
All right. Okay. Chris, Tom, any other questions?
Nope. Thank you, guys. Great job.
All right.
That was longer than 5 minutes.
The game's already started.
So I'd like to make a motion to recess a special town council meeting till tomorrow, Thursday, March 3rd at 7 PM.
So,
Do we have a second? All those in favor on the council?
Aye.
Opposed? Any
Mo-
abstentions?
Motion for the recess special Board of Finance meeting to Thursday, March 3rd at 7 PM.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Thank you, everybody.
Everyone.